Welcome, everybody. Thank you for letting me know where you're coming from. I see some of you from the Midwest, from Wisconsin. I'm also from Wisconsin. So we have a few moments just before I begin. And I just wanted to say hello and watch the chat here from where you're all from. Make sure everything is working correctly. Hey, Donna. Good to see you here. This is being recorded, so if you need to step off at any point, you can watch the replay. I have been sending those out through email, and it's also on the replay page and in the Herbal Beginnings Facebook group. Oh, Green Bay. Hello, Miranda. And just make sure that you're muted right now. We'll have some question and answer time afterwards. Just see if you can check to make sure it's muted. I can see some of you. There we go. Muting a couple of you. It is a snowstorm here right now as we speak. I think we're going to get 8 inches or so. Our winter has started late in terms of the snow. Hey, Danielle. I see you here. We're going to get started with how to restore. It's 2 steps to restoring the roots of our plant magic. Oh, Danielle, you're in that 8 to 12 band. Yes, we'll see. You know, when they tell us it's going to be 8 inches of snow, sometimes it doesn't look like 8 inches. Sometimes it looks more if it's fluffy or not. We are in that. We've got the fire burning, the wood burning furnace going right now. So that's kind of cool and cozy. Yes. Hello, Jennifer. And I am giving away the Dirt Gems Plant Oracle deck. In fact, it's going to come straight from them. They were so kind enough to donate one. They were looking for somebody to do a giveaway in their group, and I said, I'll do that. I've got an event coming up. So all you have to do is just let me know that you want to be in that drawing in the chats here in Zoom, or if you're watching the replay in the Facebook group, you know, under the replay video, let me know. I know some people have watched it solely in YouTube where the replay link is, and caught me in those comments as well. So just want to know. Good, good, good. Okay, looks like we're almost ready to start because it's almost 6 o'clock on my computer here. Yeah, I get when this video session ends, I not only get a download of the video, but the chat gets downloaded too with your name. So that's how I can capture the names so well. Oh, hello, Nancy. All right, this is good. So let me just grab a sip of tea here real quick. And also, I want to start us out with, I want to open up this session with these roots here. These roots right here are the reason we are having this Herbal Beginnings 2-day journey. These are some of the roots that I was digging out as I was trying to put my herbs in from the previous yard that we were at. And these were the ones that I was so surprised to come across. They're very fine, they're little, And I believe they come from a big grass root system. Even though there wasn't grass on top, it seemed like these came from a grass root system that was still alive. And they were so thick, very, very thick. And so it's hard to get the shovel through. And then I started to learn that I could roll them back like a carpet to unearth the earth underneath them, the soil where I wanted to get. But even in this open space that looked like it had a garden, because it was a raised garden bed, these were there. Even though there wasn't really anything growing on top, these roots were intertwined in there. So I was frustrated with them, that's for sure. However, I also was gleaning lessons from them, because that's what I do in nature. I believe that everything in nature has a lesson, multiple lessons. And so I was thinking about these roots. And so yesterday I talked about how sometimes we need to remove some roots in order to set new ones. And I talked about two blocks that come from the dominant paradigm that we live in. So like the dominant paradigm of colonialism and patriarchy, and really a capitalism, the type that's like really consuming a lot. And so I was thinking about these types of things as I was thinking about, well, I feel really bad removing these roots, but these root systems were very, very intertwined all over. They're all over my yard. I certainly did not kill this plant. It is somewhere growing mighty and strong, probably in the lawn. So I was thinking about, okay, well, sometimes these need to be removed so that we can put other things in place. And it really got me thinking about the herbal learning journey and how there are things that get in the way of our individual herbal learning journey. And so one of the blocks I talked about was that the analytical mind is dominant. The scientific discourse is dominant. And while these parts of our brains and ways of gathering information in the world are extremely important and useful, the one side of it that gets pushed away, like these roots seem to be pushing away everything else and covering an area so only they could grow, those parts are intuition, traditional stories and folklore, and wise keepers of the plants from cultures who pass the information down, the connection with nature that we glean innate knowing from. Those types of pathways to understand herbalism we need to restore those roots, because they do not have a big place in most modern societies. And I'm using that term loosely. I'm thinking about the United States of America and the way we're set up here, mostly with lots of technology and hospitals and universities, and very analytically minded. Again, they all have their place. I have a master's degree in Masters of Science in environmental studies, so I'm very science-based. And I also have my other foot, so to speak, in the other worlds of spirit and nature connection and intuition. So we have that analytical mind, and we also have the dominant paradigm, which really has been for thousands of years been pushing the idea of consuming. Consume, take over land, and take as much as you can as fast as you can, because there might not be enough. And so these roots here reside on what was a place that thrived with the nations of the Menominee nations, the Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota nations, and currently other nations are living around. Like the Menominee Nation has a place in my state, and some Anishinaabe tribes do as well. And of course, all sorts of other tribes and cultures live here as well. But I want to honor the land I'm living on now, and really presence the roots of, physically, the roots that are here that helped guide this 2-day journey that we're on, and that once held another set of nations. So those roots have been with me, sitting with me the whole time. Yesterday, they have been informing me of what to share And in co-creation, I've been talking with the plants in my yard and around me to help me bring the message they would like to be sharing. And I try my best to be a good intermediary and translate as best as I can. So welcome everybody who's just joined us, and we have begun this day two. So like I said, the analytical mind. We talked yesterday about how this can be detrimental, and I see how this shows up in people's lives too when they're learning herbalism. And what I want to give you today for one of the steps to how we can restore the roots of our plant magic is that we need to feel our way. Feel our way. And I'm using that term physically and spiritually, energetically. So rather than just using our analytical brain of reading, writing, listening to other people tell us, that is all good and great. And I do a lot of that. And I also want to spend time talking about and sharing about, and we're going to practice this, about feeling your way with plants and with plant communication, and be in co-creation with them, be in right relationship. So the dominant paradigm has, we have structures of dominancy, you know, a few on the top and many on the bottom. And what I really like to think of is that I'm in the circle. I'm in the circle with all of things of nature, and we are in this web, and I'm not the dominant. And so what that does is gets me into like next to the plant, down on the ground with the plant and with the roots, and co-creating and building relationship. So the roots also explore their environment by feeling their way. They, and feeling is kind of I'm using that term loosely as well, because they have sensory mechanisms to help guide them to things like water and nutrients. And if they come up against a barrier like a boulder, what do? They just feel their way around it, and they continue to grow. And science doesn't know all of the ways they do that. They're still exploring, well, how does the plant know to go this way and to go that way? And so I'm not going to go into the science of that, but they have mechanisms to feel their way. And that is something that I want to reflect in my journey with herbs too, is to feel my way. So feeling and listening, listening and feeling in a way that's, it's not really tangible. Okay. So these are like sacred technologies that have been used by peoples through as long as we've been evolving on this planet, in any which way we've done that. The sacred technology, and you think technology, that's like a word to mean machinery, but technology, the roots of the word are Greek, and they go back even further than that, but they really, technology means to essentially share how you weave and share how you do a craft, and speak about the way you do something, and it has to do with crafts and weaving and making things, and how you share that. And what I see of that word technology is, how do we transmit our feeling, our navigation of the communication flow? And some of those sacred technologies have been to listen, not just with our ears, but with our heart, with our womb space, if you have a womb space, with our feet, with our intuition, and we listen with all of our being, and we feel with all of our being, including our energetics about us. So the other thing is also to literally feel the plants. It's nice to see them in books and pictures, and we're going to look at a picture here in a little bit, But to get to the plant, to have a relationship with it, you must smell it, touch it, taste it if possible. You must see it with your eyes if you can. Listen. Does it make sound in the wind? Does it make sound when you touch it? All these sensory capabilities that we have that don't necessarily work with our analytical mind. And this is the piece that feels the most neglected in the herbal world. Of course, there are other herbalists and plant healers and plant keepers doing these things, but in the mainstream herbalism world, this is the part that I think we're going to grow into more. And the reason why we haven't is because the analytical paradigm, the way we see the world, is so prevalent that it really, to move beyond and say, I'm going to use my intuition or my dreaming techniques or my drumming techniques, whatever kind of energetic technique you have, to go from analytical to moving into that space of gathering information, it's not as valued in this, dominant paradigm, this modern day society that focuses on analytical things. And so I think we need to bring that about into our herbal learning journey, especially if you're new to it, or maybe you've been doing this for a long time and you just want to, add another layer to this to help. And what comes up for lots of people when I say the word intuition and dreams and using your energy is, well, how do I know I have the right answer? How do I know I have the right answer? So I would say that it's about gathering information in multiple ways and then coalescing it so that you see the bigger picture and you feel comfortable with it. And so we're going to give this a try. We're going to give this a try here. So I'm going to put a picture on the screen and I'm just going to give us a few deep breaths. We're going to just take a couple deep breaths to whatever level is comfortable for you when I put this plant on the screen. And then I'm going to guide you through some things about the picture. Okay, I don't want anybody to say the name of this plant, even if you know it. Don't say anything about the plant in the chats or anything like that. Let's just going to feel our way with this plant. And just try to trust the process here a little bit. Don't try to judge yourself about if you're right or you're wrong, because we're not ingesting this plant right now, right? We're not ingesting this plant. We are just simply going to practice this plant right here. All right, so just take it in a little bit. Again, just take a couple breaths. And I know there's many plants in this picture. And I want us all to collectively look at the largest plant, the one that's in the center. And just observe it. Look at its leaves, the color, the shape. What do the edges look like? How is it standing? Is it standing? What is it growing around? And just keep in contact with your breath. Every time you start analytically trying to get in there and think of what this is, just feel your body. Come in presence with your body. My feet are on the ground. Where are yours? My hands are on my knees. Now I'm going to come back to this plant. And now I want you to feel what it's like in your body when you see this plant. Is there a part of your body that suddenly has pain or a sensation of tingling or warmth? Notice what's happening to your body. Does there feel like there's an energy about this plant? Is it reminding you of a person? Is there a memory popping up? Is there emotion popping up? And if things are popping up, don't necessarily judge them, just observe them. These little data points coming up. Can you tell how this plant would feel in your hands? Imagine yourself touching these leaves. Do you hear any songs? This is how we feel with plants. We observe what's happening within ourselves. And if you feel like there's too much noise and there's too many to-do list things happening in your mind and in your body right now, that's okay. The longer you would sit with this plant, especially if you could be next to this plant in real life. One way to help distract that analytical mind is to get your hands on the plant. If you feel safe enough to touch it, you could take a little piece of the leaf off and smell it, rub it in your hands. If you felt safe enough to nibble on it, what does it taste like? What would be the sounds around you that were happening? Could you get under those leaves and be right under that plant with it next to the roots? You would be trying to get into relationship with it. You may even begin to talk to it. Say, hello, my name is Erin, and I'm here to observe you. I'd really like to get to know you and understand you. I'm not here to take from you, but maybe someday I will if you allow me to. And if your analytical mind says, this is weird, who talks to plants? I just want you to be next to the plant. And as we gaze on this plant, if it gives you joy to do so, then that is enough. To have the joy to look at this plant and to think about it and be with it. You may know something about this plant. You may have preconceived notions about what it is and what it does. And I also would encourage you to set that aside and to continue to feel what's in your body. And know that this one encounter with the plant is not your last. It may be that this plant isn't wanting to have a relationship right now. Maybe it doesn't have the energy to. Maybe it's shy. Maybe it thinks you're a predator. There's many things that could be happening between you and the plant. But know that the feeling navigation, navigating to the relationship of this plant through feeling is the goal. All right. So let's come back together here as a group. And I would like to know, you can comment in the chat here, what happened for you? What did you sense? And nothing is okay. It's okay if you don't. But what, if anybody would like to share what you felt, what you saw, anything, feel free to put that in the chat. Feel free to raise your hand as well if you'd like to share. Sometimes it's easier to just voice it. I sensed an itching sensation on my hands and a twinge in your stomach. Nothing. Healing, caution. The pain in my neck was gone. Oh, interest. Soft and fuzzy. Hands tingling. My upper arms tingled and then further along down my arms. And for some reason, I felt like writing. That is so cool. I was immediately on the edge of the woods listening to bird song. It was great. At first, it felt intimidating. All right. Nurturing offering of itself, bountiful leaves with uses felt in neck and shoulder. Reminded me of a dancer. The leaves look like they would comfort you. Oh, you thought of your mother. Oh, yeah. All right, so many probably want to know what this is. Oh, you felt the inside of the leaves smooth with some rough edges. Yeah, this plant is burdock. Invasive bitterness. Felt super happy and elated, heard bird songs. I crawled under the largest leaves. Yeah, this is burdock. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about burdock. And perhaps you can see if it correlates with anything that you felt. Yeah, so burdock. I'm just feeling into burdock here for a second. Burdock is considered by some to be, they use the term invasive and the word weed, problem, get it out of here. All right, it gets it's got a bad name for some people. The burdock root has a tap root that is very big and deep and long, and it will grow in the most unlikely places that don't look like they're really suited for things to grow in, like ditches and rocky places and places that have just been disturbed. And it does get a purple flower, and then the purple flower turns to these sticky barbs that get stuck on people's clothing. And typically the taproot is used often for one of the things is for soothing the gut system, the gastrointestinal, and it helps to build blood. It has so many nutrients in it, and in some places in the world it's called gobo, G-O-B-O, and it's eaten as food. It can be chopped and steamed and cooked and fried and all sorts of things. But it also has this wonderful stuff in it called inulin. And in fact, if you make a tincture of it, you can see the inulin. It has so much in it. And the inulin is a prebiotic. It feeds the good things in our guts. They're very happy when they have it. And it also helps with inflammation. It helps build the blood because it has like iron and things like that. And it's just very rich. One of the reasons could be that the taproot is so deep that it's pulling nutrients up from the depths where most plant roots don't go. Most plant roots are living in the top 6 inches of soil about. But burdock can go down feet. And it can be difficult to get some of those roots out if they go down very far. And the leaves can be used as bandages and can be used as poultices to help soothe all sorts of ailments of the skin and of rheumatic pain and things like that. I did feel my stomach, but I ignored it, as I always have feelings in my stomach. Well, that's the thing. Some of these sensations are fairly gentle and calm, and some of the pictures in our minds are not so clear. And sometimes the messages that we are gathering, the sensations we feel, they're not like big warning signs and big shouting things. They're subtle sometimes. And sometimes it's just because we're not used to paying attention to that part of it. So these types of exercises can really help us gather our skill sets to do this more often. And so I would encourage you to, when you're sitting next to a plant that maybe you don't know, you've never seen, or you've never focused on study or anything, bring something to write with or record with or draw with, or something to gather information, so that you can just make, these little notes. And then when you do go and check out other sources of information, maybe it's a workshop, maybe it's a book or a YouTube video, then you can start to correlate some of that and say, oh, that's what that sensation was. So then you'll get used to your own sensations, because the burdock root has lots of applications. It can be used, like I said, as tincture, poultice, food, and it can be used for different kinds of purposes or ailments. So what you're connecting with that plant may not be the same thing as somebody else does, because that may not be what they need from that plant or want, or that just may not be the connection pathway. So that's the part that can kind of confuse people, is, well, how come they had that information come up and I didn't, but then I had something else come up. And plants are very multifaceted. They're full of plant constituents, chemicals, vitamins, and minerals. So in the analytical paradigm, things are very linear. And in scientific studies, they're looking for that one chemical compound in the plant that makes it do the thing it does. And if they can't find it, then that means it doesn't really do that herbal thing. But there can be hundreds of plant constituents working together in synergy together, overlapping each other, helping each other. And the plant itself grows in different environments. So burdock, if it grows in a nice, lush soil that's rich and gets a lot of water, that taproot will be big and strong if it has nice, deep soil. But if it has soil that's full of rocks and clay, that root won't be as long typically. And sometimes it's got lots of branches coming off of it. So they may have different amounts of the plant constituents in them. So it's based off where they grow, how they grow, kind of climate they're in, and then the person that needs them and what can help them in their body. So that's why I think the analytical paradigm has strayed away from it, because it cannot be controlled. It's really hard to use the scientific method to figure out what that one plant does for that one ailment. And it can be multifaceted. We have pharmaceuticals like that. We have one pharmaceutical that is prescribed for 10 different ailments. And so I don't know why they're okay with that, but plants, I think, have evoked some level of fear and confusion in some humans. And some of us think that's fascinating, and others have been frightened of it, or maybe they've been intimidated by it so much that they deem those things not even useful, which I could go on for that for hours. But yeah, so come back around here to the feeling our way. So I just want you to start taking note of the different things that come up beside your thoughts that come up when you're around the plants, and just notice it. You don't have to judge it or think, am I right or I'm wrong? it just is. Take note of it. And I know that many of you feel this already. Many of you have shared with me that you feel really good around certain plants, that you feel really connected with certain plants. And we don't always have to know why, right? I want to always know why as well. Like, why do I like that one certain plant? What is it about that one certain plant? But when I just let myself feel into it, the cool thing is that it helps me feel better, it uplifts me, and it doesn't take that much effort. And one of the things in this patriarchal world we live in is that we think that if we don't work hard for it, then it's not worthy for us, that it's not valuable. And gentle is also very valuable. So when we get gentle messages, when we get dreams that come to us and we're working with plants, like, we can take note of that. We can take note of it, be aware of it, and put some value into it, and allow that the roots to start to grow, because we do have to allow these abilities to listen and feel and use our intuition. You have to allow those to grow, because they've been stunted for a long time for many of us, in general. I'm talking in generals here. In general, many of us haven't been allowed to talk about intuition or feelings or dreams or other ways of gathering information besides a scientific way. Yes. So, all right. Now, the other step I want you to consider is to slow down. I talked about yesterday about how one of the blocks is we're in a dominant paradigm that teaches us to consume. And I mean, what better example here? Now we're in the holiday season, and many of us may be experiencing the Christmas season and any other gift-giving season that's in a capitalist society. I know the messages around me are buy this, buy that, and who needs this, and who needs that. And while that's fun and helpful and good, the consumption, the idea that we always have to be consuming, can be really problematic, especially in herbalism, right? So in herbalism, get a sip here. In herbalism, this can be translated into, I don't know enough. I have to learn more. I have to gather more plants, more books, more workshops, more accreditation. And let me tell you, I've done this a good chunk as well. And I'm also embracing the slowdown. And what a good season to do that, because right now it is the season of slowdown. Like I said, it's snowing here right now, and in this season, all the plants are bringing their energy to the root system to go dormant, and everything is slowed down. So it's really easy for me to do that right now, to bring in the slow time. And so I want you to consider, what if right now what you knew was enough? And by enough, I mean, you don't have to hurry anymore to get more information. That where you're at now in your journey is a necessary part of the journey. It's like putting a seed in the ground, putting the soil over it, watering it, and then expecting it to go to fruit. Give me an apple tree right now. That's not going to happen. But the whole process of coming out of the soil, becoming a little seedling, growing, capturing light, going through the seasons, learning how to fend off critters that are trying to nibble on you, that whole pathway is so important to get to the season of fruition. And then when you get to a season of fruiting, there's a time to go back to dormancy. And then there's a time to grow your leaves, and a time to grow your branches, and a time to go into fruition, and then a time to come back down. So if you feel like you're on this journey in herbalism of coming and going and growing and coming back, and sometimes your dormancy is a little longer, this is really just part of the natural cycle of things. So the dominant society says you need to start from here and go to a certain point really fast, quickly, and stay there. And I am just giving you the permission, the guidance, the possibility that maybe you can grow and be like a natural system in spirals, in circles, in tendrils. And you can feel your way towards certain things in herbalism and then move away from them and go towards something else. You know, you may be in a season of your life where gardening is the thing you can do. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to be in books. You just want to have your hands on it. And you don't have to question whether that's the right or wrong way to be an herbalist or the right or wrong way to be a plant keeper or any of these things. You may be in a time where you do just want to read, or a time where you only want to listen to people talk about herbs, or look at books, or find stories that talk about herbs. And you don't always have to be doing the same thing over and over. So savor the experience, because like that seed that grows from stage to stage, you'll never be back at the seedling stage. You're always getting bigger and growing. And maybe you're like a vine, you grow on the ground a little bit, then you grow up something and you come back down. Consider your learning herbalism pathway, your herbal learning journey to be something other than a line. And to savor the experience, because I think that if you can savor the experience and feel into and come in right relationship with one plant or a set of herbs at a time, those lessons will stick a little bit longer. And you integrate them into yourself. And again, like yesterday, I talked about wouldn't it be interesting if people took 5 to 10 herbs and they just took their whole life to learn as much as they could about those 5 to 10 herbs, and not even to learn, but to feel into them and to learn how they grow and how they look and how they taste in different environments. And then the next household had somebody who maybe knew some more plants, but different ones than you did. And we have all this network of people who are really deepened in to just a few herbs. And some people will know more, and some people will know less. And some people will change their herbs because they somehow grew towards another plant that they started to really mesh with. You know, sometimes I think that plants also have some sort of energetic need for us in certain ways. They need something. And so they may be sending out whatever it is that they have, their energy, their pheromones, whatever it is, and also attracting us in, like they do with pollinators. They attract in pollinators to come help them do things. Maybe they just want us to come sit by them. So the slowing down, and by slow, I don't necessarily mean like doing less of, you know, the word slow sometimes, even for me, for somebody who loves to do things and make checklists and to-do lists and accomplish goals, like slowing down for me means to like savor that moment and really take a moment to sit back and stare at a picture of that herb I'm looking to know more about, or to go find it in its natural landscape and be with it. So also consider, you know, the way you build relationships with people. How can you reflect that in ways that you build relationships with plants? That's an interesting activity to do. Maybe you don't like the way you make connections with people. Maybe you like the way you make them with plants. But again, there's all these layers and facets to what we do. So the slowdown, the gratitude is something that you can really gear yourself towards. so that when you're feeling that lack moment, when you're feeling in lack, let me just pull this screen up here, our picture up here. When you're feeling that moment, like, I don't know enough, I don't do enough with my plants, I don't take care of my apothecary enough, I wasted all my life until I was in my 60s just to really actually pay attention to something I love the most. Like, when you feel that, what do? That's kind of a spiral, a spiral. You start to really glom onto that feeling. I want you to go towards the feelings of how the plants gave to you in your first memories. That's why I had sent that activity out to do. What are some of your first plant memories? I should probably say some of your good plant memories, not falling out of a tree. What are some of your really good plant memories? And try to really deepen into that feeling, okay? And also, if you go into that lack mentality, go to a plant or find a picture of a plant and give it gratitude. Give it gratitude. Like, I really love your deep taproot. It is so fascinating. Thank you so much for giving us your medicine. I would love to learn more about you. I love the beautiful flowers you give in the fall or towards the fall. I want to know more about you. I love the way your leaf margins ripple. Your leaves get so big. They are amazing. I love the way you stand tall amongst the other plants. Give gratitude towards what you already know. Because if we keep putting ourselves down, that we don't know enough, that we don't do enough, kind of giving in to that dominant paradigm that said, you know what, it's not important, don't pay attention to it, don't do it. We need to restore the roots of plant magic by paying attention to them. And every time we do that, we wake up that memory in us, that long lineage of memory that we have of plants. And while it may feel to some of us like we've lost it, because, you know, either we lost all those people through whatever violence of means that were used to eradicate that type of knowledge, or we've lost it because the elders were told not to pass it down to the young ones anymore. Whether maybe we've lost it because we feel we have no lineage to our motherlands where our ancestors came from, we can all tap back into it just like our ancestors and our elders did at one time. And the more we just restore it and revive it, anytime we get a chance to do that, then we are bringing that energetic signal back to the plants, and we're building that sacred connection towards them. I think of it as like a radio connection, that right now with humans, the connection between plants and humans is very staticky. Sometimes it comes in real clear for some people, but it as a whole, as like the human species, is very staticky. And the more of us that tune in and tune in and tune in, I feel like that energy starts to help clear the static. I don't think it's the plants that did it. I don't know, maybe they got annoyed with us and wanted the connection to stop. I don't know, but I really believe we can rebuild that connection. So that is something that I will be guiding people towards in the 6-month journey called Herbal Roots. Rewild your sacred plant connection. It's all about feeling our way to learning about herbs and slowing the process down. And we're going to do that by having one plant a month for each of the 6 months. And each plant, we're going to have what's called a plant temple. And we'll be using symbolism and metaphor and visualization and moments of listening into the plant through pictures or through the ones that you have in your hands, And we're going to start to build this root system of knowledge within ourselves and with humanity by bringing the sacred connection back to plants, getting out of our analytical mind. And we do this through Plant Temple. So every month is a new plant, and all the plants are already picked because I went out and took the time to ask which plant would like to come and be part of this and be part of a plant temple, which ones have something to say. So all those plants are already picked out. So when you join the Herbal Roots, then you'll know each month which plant we're going to start with. And if you have the means to, or if it's around you, you can actually get some of the herb, some of the plant so that you can have it with you. And so when we do the plant temple virtually together, you can do that. Or we will be doing it using pictures, like I said, and all sorts of other things that we can use virtually. So the other thing about each doing one plant a month is that you have time to do some integration with it, working with it hands-on, and then have time to come back with the group, with whoever's in the Herbal Roots, and have time to like talk through that and share what you've been feeling, and take time to, you know, find ways to deepen into it more. The other thing that we're going to do during Herbal Roots is there's going to be a module each month as well, where we use the root pathways to really guide us to become in more of a connection with plants. So what I mean by that is, like, one module is going to be about roots and how they look and what they're made out of. So it is a little analytical. We get to know the inner workings of the root. And another module is going to be about how to plant them, how to care for them. Another one's about how to harvest. When is a good time to harvest roots? And we're going to weave in all these root lessons so that we become in relationship with the root system and how that can inform our herbal journey, as well as how we can help care for our plants better. Both are going to happen. So rewild your sacred plant connection. That's what the Herbal Roots is all about, because we're going to delve into some of the analytical parts of it, but we also are going to, like I said, do the plant temple, use symbolism, and practice together doing this feeling and this intuition and guidance with each other. Now, this is like nothing I've ever seen happen in the online world. I've seen parts of it, but this is really a unique experience that I think many of you are waiting for and wanted. And so if you really want to try to rewild this part of yourself that feels like it's been tamed a little too much, that you want to really explore it, this is the Herbal Roots 6-month journey is really the place to be. And so we'll meet once a month for a plant temple, and once a month live for the modules, for the lessons about the root system. And also I'll be giving you tips about how to really use your analytical mind in a way that's helpful. So I'll be teaching you some about how to feel a little bit, maybe more, a way that you can feel prepared and organized in a way that is useful, along with this intuitive feeling component with the plants and with the herbs. And some of the plants that have been jumped out at me and wanted to be part of this 6-month journey, some of them are not necessarily ones we're going to ingest. Because like I said, the dominant paradigm is all about consuming and buying and getting and harvesting and collecting and putting it in our mouths. And herbs are not all about putting them in our mouths. Like some of you experienced today while looking at the burdock on the screen, it made you feel happy just to have a moment with it and to have that relationship with it, even if it's just on the screen. So some of that will be playing with all these things that I'm talking about. We'll be playing with them. You'll be in a supportive group. You'll have me to help guide you through, so that if you feel like something kind of bubbled up in you with a certain plant and you can't figure out what that's going on with that, you'll have me to come back to and say, what do you know about this plant in this way that I'm thinking about it and feeling about it and dreaming about it? So, all right. So some of you may be wondering some details about that. So I'm going to go into some of the details about the herbal roots right now. It is for the next 5 days, I have an early bird discount. So it's the regular price is $549 a month, but until the 15th, I have it at $399 a month. If you want to pay in full, the discount is $2,394, and the full price is $3,294. So it's actually $900 discount either way. If you choose to do a payment plan by month, you don't pay any more than you would if you paid in full. So I didn't increase the price for payment plans. So for those who would like to continue right now, I just want to let you know that I'm going to share some more information about, let's see, about this Herbal Roots program. And that is not the one I want to share with you, nor this one, nor that. Let's see here. There we are. So 6-month journey to deepen your intimate communion with plants through root pathways. Now, it says we start January 6th and we go until June 23rd. However, I'm going to do a bonus ceremony, which starts, it starts December 30th. And the opening ceremony is a dedication to your herbal roots and activate ancestral and nature spirit support. So that is December 30th. We will also have a bonus closing ceremony too in June. So let me just get you to some of the details here. Yep, it's $399 per month for 6 months if you want a payment plan, or it's $2,394 paid in full. All right. So let's just get to some of the details here. And I will be getting you this link to you as well. So lots of information. Let's see here. I'm looking for the details. Yes, we will meet the first Thursday of each month. And that's for the plant temple experience. And then the third Thursday of each month is when we do some sort of practical-ish lesson where we talk about, you know, certain terminology. We use the root system, learn something about the root system. And in between gatherings, when we meet live, you certainly can watch the replays, and you will have access to a forum that's on a mobile-friendly device where all of the lessons are. The app is called Kajabi, and you can just share photos and comments and everything else with people. We will not have a Facebook group. So, what I'm looking for. Get my fucking phone. Oh. Okay, I muted somebody there. And let's see here. Okay. Yes, I also have spots, 2 spots for one-to-one mentorship. So if you're interested in that, it's details are here, but essentially you get everything that's in the herbal roots, but you also get 3 sessions with me through Zoom, most likely, and they're 60 to 90 minutes, and we can really gear things towards what you need. Some people need that one-to-one support, so that is available. So here is the schedule, and there's the bonus days, and all the dates are on here. So when we do Plant Temple, they're at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And when we do a module, it's at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can see here, the first module is about cultivating fertile ground for setting herbal roots. Now, this is going to not only be about physical roots, but about setting our roots for the herbal journey. And then in February, it's revealing the roots, and we're doing a wild black cherry tree. In January, it's red cardinal flower. March, it's chamomile and planting herbal roots in a successful way, part 1. April is part 2 with plant temple with marshmallow. If you're here and you're in the plant priestess circle, you're already included in this. You don't have to sign up for this. Plant temple with yarrow in May, nurturing your herbal roots, and in June it's harvesting roots and the plant temple with pine. So you can see what's actually going to be happening. And what else did I want to share with you? That's all for now. If you have questions about this herbal roots, you can certainly schedule a time to talk with me. If you click here, you can set a time to meet with me. I have some availability coming up tomorrow and 3 days next week. All right, so that is Herbal Roots, Rewild Your Plant Connection. And now I'm going to stop doing that. Did I stop sharing? Yes. If anybody has any questions and would like to unmute, you can certainly do that. I'm going to try to get a hold of this chat here, see if there's any questions that popped up while I was talking. Yeah, why is my little chat box so small? There we go. There. So tomorrow you will be getting a little bonus lesson in your email box. It will be a video right in the email. You should see the video. It's about 15 minutes, I believe. And then on Sunday, you will also get a bonus video. So be sure to check those emails out. They're quick little lessons, but really fun. One is on herbs for winter wellness. I really dislike winter and feel like it kills my plants. What do you suggest? I miss my plants and my flowers. Well, they are still with you energetically. I'm sure you have an apothecary. So I would suggest trying to work with those. Like put some under your pillow and see if something happens in your dreams. And you can still go out to the trees. You can still go out and talk to the plants under the snow and communicate in a way that you want to that way. All right. The second step, Ashley, yes, is to slow down the consumption of information, slow down, just slow down your mind chatter when you're with plants and to really savor that experience. See what happens if you slow things down a little bit, or if you already feel like you've slowed down. See if you can really savor that. I know some people will say, well, I'm really slow right now with my herbal studies. Life is in the way. All these things are happening. And that's okay too, that things that your study maybe has slowed down. And also try to, if you're feeling like you don't have enough time or money or energy, or maybe you have all three, just consider asking yourself, where is the dominant paradigm in my decision-making process about how I spend my time, for instance? How is it in there? I'll give you a personal example. I have a tendency to wake up in the morning and want to do my to-do list. I have kids who are home doing schooling. I have a wood-burning furnace that needs to get started and stay lit and checked on. 2 cats, one's geriatric, like they need to be fed, they need to be taken care of. Seems like they could take care of themselves, right? But they're kind of needy. And then there's just the housework. And it all is running together. And there's my business. And I always want to go to my to-do list really fast and get everything checked off. And there's a switch in me that is informing me to go to my altar first, to go towards my stretching or a little exercise first, to go towards the nurturing part of myself first before I get up and try to check everything off. And it's actually been a very slower than I thought it would be change in habits, but it's happening. And, I always say there's not enough time for me to do the things at my altar and to do the meditation and to do the plant connection. And that's because I'm under the impression that those things are not as important as the physical things that need to be done right now, this second. And I've challenged myself over the years to flip that. Do the dishes need to be done right now? Do they really need to be done right now? Why do I think they need to be done right now? Is it because we don't have any dishes to eat off of? And 99% of the time, the answer is no, we have ample amount of dishes to use. And I just did the dishes 5 hours ago. So why don't I just take a moment to do the thing I want to do with my plant connection, my plant community, and my altar time, my meditation? It's because I don't think those things are as important. I still have that kind of in there, but I'm aware of it to help me make different decisions. So, somebody have a question? Let me see. Jennifer Rose, if you have a question, feel free to just unmute.
Hi.
Okay, go ahead.
This might be a really stupid question, but where I live is kind of like up in the mountains, and when I moved in this past year, they already had an herb garden, which was awesome. But I feel bad pulling out any kind of flower, or any kind of plant. I know that certain, I have to cut down certain things, or that like the rosemary is starting to take over the time, or, even indoors, like I might have an aloe vera plant, or somebody might have given me a plant that doesn't really look too well. And I tried and it's not doing anything yet. I can't force myself to throw it in the garbage. And I feel bad of either pruning or pulling out weeds, and I just don't want them to choke out other plants. And how do you get over this? And I'm sorry, that's just stupid, but
this is a very, very common question. It's like the top 10 questions. So you're in, that's not weird. Okay, there's lots of answers to this. I'm going to just talk right now about, let's say, pruning. When you prune a plant, you can just say, you can commune with it out loud if you want, or in your mind. I'm going to cut you back because there's other plants around you that I want to grow, and they need some sun and you're blocking them, or whatever the reason is. And then you prune the thing, right? And we know as gardeners that there's certain ways to prune things to help the plant, and not just like rip stuff off. The other thing is, consider it kind of like your own hair. Like you're cutting off parts of the plant, but in some ways, the goal of a plant is just to continue to live and to reproduce. And so if you're allowing the plant to live and reproduce, then in a sense, it doesn't really care. You're just you're kind of helping it to grow, to continue to grow. Especially with pruning techniques can do that. And when we harvest from plants, the same thing. Tell them what you're going to do with it. They like to know what is going to happen to parts of them, and they're happy to know they can be used for medicine and helping others around them. And as far as let's say houseplants that die or just not doing well, composting, of course, is what you can do if you have a composting area. If you don't, you could always just bury the plant in the ground, and then you put them back into the cycle of life. It's our very human perspective to think, oh my gosh, I'm killing this plant and it'll never live again. When in fact, parts of that plant are going to go back into the soil. They're going to go back into the network of the roots and everything. They become part of it again. So, and as far as like this, like when I'm pulling out big networks of plants as well, I know that this plant is still alive and that it is most likely a runner of like 1 or 2 or 20 plants and has grown into something bigger. And for me to take parts of it out, it's like taking its clone out. It's still alive. It's still there. So they're not all, it looks like they're individual plants, but in many respects, they're clones of itself. So it's just almost like you're taking away a clone of itself and it's like, well, I'm still here. It's just one of my clones are gone. So those are some ways to think about it. Yeah, I mean, I get into that mindset too. I'm like, I can't pull anything. And then what happens is my garden gets like so unruly. It gets to a point where I can't interact with it anymore because I can't see pathways, and my plants actually start to look worse in some respects because they're getting crowded. So then I'm like, okay, listen up. We are pulling some of you out. Some of you are going back into the earth, and I can't interact with you. And that's what you're here for in this garden. So those are some ideas. What about plants you do not want in your area? Well, we had a tree chopped down, a silver maple, a big one. When we came to this new house, we have loads of trees here. It's to the point where I couldn't have a vegetable garden. So I either had to decide to not have one or to figure out if there was a way to get more sun here. And consulting a couple different tree companies to come help me figure it out. One finally said, this tree here is just, it's your south-facing tree. It's blocking the sun. If you just take this one out, you're going to have this huge area. And so, yeah, I felt bad about it. I didn't like it, but I also communed with the tree. Like, other things are going to grow here. And all trees will eventually fall back to the earth. And one part of the plant, or of the tree, is an altar for my garden. So this tree is still continuing. And from what I know about the underground root system, the stump is still there, and it likely is still feeding and supporting the underground network that's already there. Because just because a tree is chopped down, it still has some residual nutrients that it's leaking out. And it still has a way of supporting the soil and supporting other life and microbes that are underneath the soil. So it doesn't, it dies in the sense that it doesn't grow anymore, but it's still part of the ecosystem. Yeah. Good. Any other questions? All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for coming and listening to me share about how I feel and think and communicate with plants. I know that many of you have similar feelings and just want to know that you are not alone and that we are here and we can build a network with each other. So be on the lookout for some more emails coming from me, 2 more short videos coming to you in your email this weekend for you to learn some more about plants. So thank you so much. Feel free to go in the Facebook group and ask some questions. I'll be in there as well, posting over this weekend some things that might be of help to you. And I really appreciate you all paying attention to the plants and the herbs. And don't stop feeling that green magic that you have inside. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.